Now to sport with Meredith Sheehan.
Gay.
Good evening, I'm Van.
Graduated from West Virginia University, and I'm used to, from being from the East Coast.
When the cameras start rolling, every second counts. But what happens when the anchors themselves become the headline? From shocking live meltdowns to hot mic slip-ups that ended decades-long careers, these moments prove that even the calmest faces on TV can lose control in an instant. Some fell from grace in seconds, others in scandalous slow motion. One even thought his mic was off until it wasn't. Here are 20 news anchors who were fired, live on air, and trust us, you won't see these endings coming. Don Lemon. Don Lemon's firing from CNN in April 2023 marked the abrupt end of his 17-year career at the network and underscored the growing tension between outspoken journalism and corporate image control. For nearly 2 decades, Lemon had been a cornerstone of CNN's primetime lineup, celebrated for his candor and emotional delivery. Yet in his later years, that same bluntness repeatedly stirred controversy. The decline started after a series of on-air moments that were controversial. The fight-like interaction between the GOP candidate Vivek Ramaswamy and Lemon, wherein the latter accused the former of distorting Black history, threw a spotlight on the progressively fighting tone that split the audience. Just a few weeks prior, he had made a comment that got him into serious trouble. He said that Nikki Haley, who is a presidential candidate, was past her prime, a statement that was universally regarded as sexist and drew strong criticism. According to reports, there was a power struggle between Lemon and CNN's new management, who wanted to take a more neutral stance editorially. Lemon informed the public via Twitter on April 24, 2023, that he was fired. He said he learned the news through his agent. CNN promptly denied his claim, asserting that his statement was inaccurate. Regardless of who broke the news, one thing was obvious. CNN was not looking to be involved with any more controversies. The departure of Lemon not only marked the close of an era characterized by his power, but also by the controversial aspect that eventually cost him his place behind the anchor desk. Keep your remote close. This next anchor didn't just get fired, he fired himself mid-broadcast. Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan's departure from Good Morning Britain was one of the most dramatic and polarizing moments in British television. Known for his sharp tongue and unapologetic opinions, Morgan built his career on controversy. But in 2021, his relentless criticism of Meghan Markle led to his sudden exit. The catalyst came after Prince Harry and Meghan's explosive interview with Oprah Winfrey, where Meghan spoke candidly about mental health struggles and feeling unsupported by the royal family. Morgan publicly dismissed her claims, implying she fabricated parts of her story. The uproar was instant and gigantic. More than 40,000 objections were lodged with Ofcom, the media regulator in the UK, which resulted in one of the most complained-about broadcasts in the history of British television. The atmosphere got too intense when co-presenter Alex Beresford confronted Morgan directly on air, telling him that he was keeping the grudge because Meghan had allegedly cut him off. Morgan, who was not willing to move the discussion any further, later stepped off the studio in the middle of the broadcast, saying, "I have had enough of it." Not long after that, ITV released a statement about his departure. However, Morgan maintained that he left the channel of his own accord. Still, many people speculated that he was actually forced to go due to the bad press. The whole occurrence stirred up once more the discussions on freedom of speech, accountability, and the professionalism of journalists in broadcasting, which again was a typical Piers Morgan controversy. Matt Lauer. Matt Lauer's termination from NBC marked one of the most shocking downfalls in modern broadcast journalism. For over 2 decades, Lauer had been the trusted face of NBC's Today Show, a household name who defined morning television. His charm, professionalism, and consistency made him seem untouchable until November 29, 2017, when NBC abruptly announced that he had been fired following a detailed complaint about inappropriate, indecent behavior. The news stunned viewers who had woken up to Lauer's familiar presence for years. As more accusations were made, the situation got worse. The reports came up with alarming information, one of which was the claim that Lauer had a hidden button under his desk to lock the office door, which represented a secret culture of power and misconduct. NBC did not waste any time in taking away his legacy. The first step involved moving his image from marketing, followed by the deletion of his name from all records. And so his career was virtually wiped off the earth overnight. Lauer tried to fight back, claiming that some of the accusations were overstated or even untrue, but the public's view had already shifted. The journalist who once received accolades was now marked by disgrace, his reputation falling to the ground in a split second. His decline was an eerie warning that no one is safe from consequences if serious claims are made against them, no matter their position, fame, or how long their career lasted. Charlie Rose. Charlie Rose's firing was another major reckoning in the world of broadcast journalism. For decades, Rose had been seen as one of the most respected figures in serious news and in-depth interviews. His acclaimed PBS and CBS programs attracted world leaders, celebrities, and intellectuals, earning him a reputation for thoughtful, probing journalism. But in November 2017, his distinguished career came crashing down when the Washington Post reported allegations from 8 women accusing him of indecent misconduct. The allegations claimed that Rose was making indecent advances towards women, such as touching them without their consent and being naked in their presence while working from home. These disclosures caused the industry to tremble. Rose's eponymous show, which had become a major part of late-night news, was canceled right away. Rose tried to apologize, acknowledging that he had acted insensitively, but he also denied some of the accusations. Nevertheless, the public had already lost interest. He transformed overnight from a respected journalist to a disgraced outcast with no reputation and no power left. Even a few years later, his 2022 attempt at pulling back through a Warren Buffett interview did not succeed in restoring his image. Charlie Rose's fall marked a pivotal point in the history of journalism's confrontation with the issue of workplace misconduct and the need for accountability. Mark Mester. Mark Mester's firing from KTLA became one of the most talked-about moments in local television, showing how quickly loyalty and emotion can derail a career. The controversy began in September 2022, when beloved anchor Lynette Romero, Mester's longtime co-anchor, was abruptly let go from KTLA after more than 2 decades. Viewers were outraged by the station's brief, impersonal announcement of her departure. But Mester's reaction took that outrage live on air. During what was planned to be a typical broadcast day, Mester became emotional and unsanctioned, went off-script with a monologue, and criticized the management of KTLA. He said the station had made a mistake in Romero's leaving and wanted her to have a proper farewell. He even played a tribute video that KTLA had refused to show. The passionate protection of his co-worker by Mester gained the sympathy of the audience, but the executives got mad at him. Days later, he was suspended and afterwards fired. Later on, reports stated that he yelled at the staff and quit the meeting with the management in a fit. Mester maintained that he was fighting for justice, while the KTLA management thought he was being rebellious. His outcry turned into a viral story that pointed out the negatives in the newsroom politics, where even a legitimate display of danger can result in a quick end to a promising career. Natasha Exelby. Natasha Exelby's on-air blunder in 2017 became one of the most viral and controversial moments in Australian television. A respected journalist and news anchor for ABC24, Exelby was reading the news when the program abruptly cut back to her sooner than expected. Instead of looking composed and ready, she was caught completely off guard, staring at her pen, lost in thought. The moment she realized she was alive, her wide-eyed, startled reaction played out for the entire country to see. Seconds were the only duration of the brief mishap, but it blew up online in minutes. The audience converted her stunned face to memes, GIFs, and reaction videos, and treated it as a harmless and human moment. Nevertheless, ABC executives were said not to be laughing at the situation. The day after the incident, Exelby was stealthily taken off her usual on-air tasks. Exelby countered by saying she was a victim of unfair punishment for a very simple mistake. Her backers, among whom were other journalists, stood by her and even shared their own blooper videos as a sign of support. Apothecary later on found new media opportunities, but the viral incident virtually put to an end her career as a serious anchor and proved how live television can be so unforgiving. Lisa Laflamme. Lisa Laflamme's firing from CTV News in 2022 sparked outrage across Canada and ignited a global conversation about ageism and sexism in broadcast journalism. After a distinguished 35-year career, Laflamme, one of the country's most trusted and decorated journalists, was suddenly dismissed from her role as chief anchor and senior editor. The reason, according to widespread reports, was shockingly superficial. She had decided to let her hair go naturally gray during the pandemic. On the one hand, the fans applauded her for being true to herself, while on the other hand, it was reported by insiders that the managers at Bell Media, the parent company of CTV, wanted a younger look for the flagship program of the network. The move was instantly criticized as pejorative and especially targeting older women in the media. Outrage was expressed by the viewers, the co-workers, and the famous personalities who called the dismissal a betrayal of Laflamme's professionalism and heritage. Even major brands supported the protest. Wendy's Canada was one of the most notable, as it temporarily changed the hair color of its red-haired mascot to gray in support. CTV maintained that the choice was not at all based on her appearance, yet the public remained unconvinced. To most people, Laflamme's dismissal was a sign of a more significant cultural issue, that the women in the media are still judged by their looks and not their skills. Ajay Clemente. Ajay Clemente's first and final broadcast at KFYR-TV in April 2013 became one of the most infamous debuts in news history. Fresh out of college and eager to make his mark, Clemente was about to introduce himself to viewers as the new weekend news anchor for the NBC affiliate in Bismarck, North Dakota. But seconds before going live, he mumbled profanity under his breath, unaware that his microphone was already on. Viewers at home heard every word. The misstep was short, but catastrophic. The co-anchor attempted to bring back the moment, but to no avail. The mistake was already made. The video clip went viral immediately on social media. Consequently, it got to the news channels and even to the late-night shows. In a matter of hours, KFYR-TV put Clemente on suspension, and the next day, he was already fired. Even though he apologized and had appeared on The Today Show and The Late Show with David Letterman to take the mistake lightly, the incident had already ruined his broadcasting career. Clemente later commented that he was nervous and had trouble speaking during his first appearance, which, in turn, made him feel embarrassed and humiliated the public. His case became a warning sign for the new journalists. In the live TV world, a tiny error of a second can not only define, but also slay a career before it has even started. Lydia. Lydia's story is a striking example of how one careless moment can destroy a journalist's credibility. In 2017, the Mexican reporter was covering severe flooding in Puebla for TV Azteca. Her assignment was to highlight how locals were struggling through the disaster, but instead, she became the headline herself. A viral photo showed two villagers carrying her over floodwaters so her shoes wouldn't get wet. Instead of appearing compassionate or courageous, she looked detached and privileged, an image that quickly fueled outrage. Social media went wild with accusations of arrogance and insensitivity. Her detractors considered it a case of getting the best out of the locals' misfortune while being safe herself. Angry posts and memes were shared quickly, and in no time, the picture turned into a national debate. TV Azteca took urgent action by suspending Lydia and then firing her very soon after. The whole affair underlined an important truth in the profession of journalism. How a situation looks is very often as important as what the purpose was. In a world where every image can be seen by millions in no time, one miscalculated move can ruin a journalist's credibility forever. Lydia's termination turned into a parable about the need for humility, the importance of ethics, and the influence of perception in the media sector. Rick Sanchez. Rick Sanchez's downfall from CNN in 2010 was swift and self-inflicted, caused by an unfiltered outburst during a radio interview that ended his mainstream media career overnight. At the time, Sanchez hosted his own daily program, Rick's List, and had built a reputation as an assertive and outspoken anchor. But during an appearance on a satellite radio show, he launched into an emotional rant that crossed a professional line. Sanchez, feeling that he was not given due respect by his co-workers and the network's top brass, first called the comedian Jon Stewart a bigot, and then continued by alleging that the Jewish people run all the networks. His statements were almost universally labeled as anti-Semitic and ignited instant outrage not just in the media industry, but also among the public. CNN did not take long, within a day, to terminate his contract, releasing a statement to the effect that the remarks were totally unacceptable and contrary to the principles of the network. Later, Sanchez offered an apology, admitting his tiredness and lack of thought in speaking. Besides, even Stewart, the target of 9 comments, publicly acknowledged that he did not think that Sanchez should have been fired, but the harm was done. Once a safe and sound CNN communicator, Sanchez discovered that he was blacklisted by major networks. Just when you think the drama can't get worse, the next story proves it absolutely can. Bob Beckel. Bob Beckel's firing from Fox News in 2017 was a reminder that even off-camera behavior can end a long and visible career. Beckel, a Democratic strategist and co-host of The Five, had long been known for his fiery temper and blunt, often controversial opinions. His on-air persona was that of the outspoken liberal sparring with conservative colleagues, a dynamic that made him both entertaining and polarizing. But this time, it wasn't something said in front of the cameras that brought him down. Reports say that Beckel has made a comment that was not only racially offensive, but also an insensitive one to a black co-worker in the backstage area. Upon being confronted, he, on his part, allegedly dismissed the matter rather than apologizing. Fox News, which is already facing criticism for various instances of misconduct in the workplace, took quick action. The network stated Beckel's instant firing, referring to the company's zero-tolerance policy against discriminatory acts. This incident was not the first time Beckel too exited from Fox. He was first dismissed in 2015 because of his substance and alcohol issues, but was then hired back 2 years later. His second dismissal, though, was final. Beckel afterwards said that the case was blown out of proportion, but the network did not change its mind. His case was once more proof that even one careless remark off camera can easily destroy a television career that was once flourishing. Vic Faust. Vic Faust's career came to a sudden and humiliating end after an off-air meltdown that was caught on tape and quickly made public. At the time, Faust was a respected news anchor at Fox 2 in St. Louis, known for his confident on-screen presence and commanding delivery. But behind the scenes, tension with a co-host erupted into a profanity-laced tirade that destroyed his reputation in minutes. A recorded conversation was leaked that included Faust rebuking his woman co-host with a torrent of insults and profanity after a disagreement during a segment. His statements were aggressive, targeted, and extremely unprofessional, way above the levels of frustration that usually occur in a high-pressure newsroom. Once the audio went around the staff and finally leaked to the public, the reception was nothing but outrage. Fox 2's top management reacted immediately. A few days later, Faust lost his position on both television and radio. He could not save his career even with the help of self-defense or incident explanations. His dismissal was a very clear signal that in the world of journalism, professionalism is still the rule even when the cameras are off, and that a single second of uncontrolled rage can wipe out your entire credibility and popularity built over years just like that. Matt Gutman. Matt Gutman's career-altering mistake serves as a powerful lesson on the importance of accuracy and restraint in journalism. On January 26, 2020, ABC News correspondent Matt Gutman was covering the tragic helicopter crash that slayed NBA legend Kobe Bryant. In the rush to break the story, Gutman made a devastating on-air error. He falsely reported that all 4 of Bryant's daughters were aboard the helicopter. In reality, only one, 13-year-old Gianna Bryant, was among the victims. The wrong report quickly went around the world, adding to the sorrow of the already devastated public and attracting a lot of criticism. ABC News had to retract the report formally, and Gutman was suspended for an indefinite period, citing serious doubts about the journalistic integrity as the reason for the suspension. Although Gutman was later allowed to come back to work, his credibility was still damaged. By 2023, ABC had been cutting ties with him quietly, officially citing budget cuts. However, many believed that his earlier mistake still loomed over his career. It was a very unfortunate incident for Gutman, who passed only one moment of impatience, and this became a defining setback that highlighted the fact that the accuracy of news, the compassionate treatment of people, and patience are indeed non-negotiable virtues of responsible reporting. Ed Schultz. Ed Schultz's firing from MSNBC in 2015 revealed the deep divide between journalistic independence and corporate media control. Schultz, known for his fiery populist commentary and his show The Ed Show, was one of the few progressive voices willing to challenge political and corporate elites. Behind the scenes, however, his growing frustration with MSNBC executives led to his downfall. According to Schultz, the tension escalated when he insisted on covering Senator Bernie Sanders' 2016 campaign launch, a story he believed was vital for working-class Americans. Management, he claimed, ordered him not to air the event, suggesting the network wanted to favor establishment candidates like Hillary Clinton. Schultz defied the order and publicly criticized MSNBC for silencing diverse perspectives. Soon after, suddenly, his show was taken off the air, and to his great surprise, he was dismissed. Schultz then joined RT America and openly charged MSNBC that it worked under corporate, which was the opposite of the main virtue of the media, ethical practice. Although he kept on being his forthright self, his dismissal functionally brought to a close his career in mainstream U.S. media. Barbie Bassett. The firing of Mississippi news anchor Barbie Bassett became one of the most controversial and debated moments in local television. During a casual segment about Snoop Dogg on her morning show in 2023, Bassett, a white middle-aged anchor with years of broadcast experience, tried to add humor to the discussion by repeating one of the rapper's famous catchphrases, "Faux shizzle, my nizzle." While many viewers found the remark harmless and even amusing, others pointed out that the slang term nizzle is derived from a racial slur. The video went viral in no time, and people's reactions to it were diverse. Defenders of the singer said that she was just playing and probably didn't notice the phrase's hidden meaning. Meanwhile, others claimed that her use of the word was unacceptable for the live show, even if it was unintentional. The station immediately took her off air, and shortly thereafter, the rumors about her dismissal were confirmed by the press. The incident led to a nationwide discussion about sensitivity, intent, and workplace overreaction. Those against the termination said that the station was very strict and punished a harmless prank, while others argued that it was a case reflecting the issue of cultural awareness in the media. Shaker Aljara. Shaker Aljara's infamous on-air brawl remains one of the wildest moments ever broadcast on live television. The Jordanian journalist was participating in a televised political debate when a heated discussion spiraled completely out of control. What began as a verbal disagreement between Aljara and another guest over Middle Eastern politics quickly escalated into a shouting match filled with personal insults, finger-pointing, and rising tempers. Within moments, the argument turned physical. The moment Aljara stood up, hit the other actor, and caused the set to go crazy was recorded on the cameras. Papers were scattered, chairs fell over, and crew members hurried to separate the fighters. All of this happening while the cameras were still on. The shocking video got around the internet quickly, leaving people amazed at how unprofessional the whole thing had been. Aljara was immediately suspended by the network, and after a few days, he was fired. The majority of the audience disapproved of the behavior and branded it as unworthy of a journalist, while some thought that the quarrel was just a reflection of the heatedness of the regional politics. No matter what, the incident ruined his image forever. Turkish newscaster. The firing of a Turkish newscaster over a simple Starbucks cup became one of the strangest controversies in global broadcasting. During a live television broadcast in late 2023, the anchor, whose name was not widely publicized, was seen sipping from a Starbucks cup on her desk. At first, it appeared to be an ordinary moment, barely noticeable to most viewers. However, the timing couldn't have been worse. Amid growing political tension and public boycotts over the Israel-Gaza conflict, Starbucks had become a symbol of controversy in Turkey, with many accusing the company of supporting political causes they opposed. Turkish social media was inundated with screenshots of the broadcast within a few hours. The host was taking the cup as a sign of political allegiance, and the viewers expressed their anger, and demanded her removal. The station, which was under heavy public scrutiny, immediately fired her in its response. The critics labeled the decision as overly harsh, saying that the anchor had just been drinking coffee and not making a political statement. The whole case pointed out the fact that under the conditions of the highly charged political environment, even the most trivial acts can be transformed into weapons. Ken Rosato. Ken Rosato's hot mic incident in May 2023 abruptly ended a 20-year career at WABC, shocking viewers who had long seen him as a reliable and respected morning news anchor. For 2 decades, Rosato had co-hosted Eyewitness News This Morning alongside Shirlene Alicott, becoming a familiar and trusted presence to New Yorkers. But one off-air comment, never meant to be heard publicly, erased that reputation overnight. What Rosato thought to be a private moment between segments turned into his making an offensive comment about a colleague. There were no confirmations of the exact wording, but a number of reports referred to it as very inappropriate and possibly even insulting enough to break company policy. The production team was alerted to the situation by the apparently picked-up audio from the studio microphone, and soon management came into action. In a matter of hours, Rosato was dismissed, and his profile was promptly taken off the station's website. There was neither a farewell broadcast nor an opportunity for him to explain, just the sudden extinction of a long and fruitful career. While his agents refuted that he had used a racial slur, they did not clarify what was actually said, thereby fueling speculation and confusion. Jeffrey Toobin. Jeffrey Toobin's downfall began with one of the most infamous workplace incidents of the digital era, a Zoom call gone horribly wrong. In October 2020, Toobin, a senior legal analyst for CNN and a staff writer for The New Yorker, joined a virtual meeting with colleagues to discuss election coverage. During a break in the call, believing his camera was off, Toobin engaged in an explicit act on camera, shocking everyone who witnessed it. The call was immediately terminated, and word of the incident spread rapidly throughout media circles. Almost immediately, The New Yorker took the drastic step of suspending him and proceeding with an internal investigation. After a few weeks, 27 years later, the publication decided to cut off his relationship with the magazine. CNN took an initial step of putting him on leave, which led to a public debate on whether the man's conduct could be rightly considered as an offense that called for termination or just a personal mistake that was humiliating for him. 8 months later, CNN proceeded with the silent move of reinstating him, which opened up a can of worms as it drew a lot of negative reactions from the audiences as well as the media professionals. Toobin tried to soften the impact of the scandal by referring to it as a stupid mistake, but his reputation was never the same again. By the year 2022, Hadass left CNN officially, thus putting an end to a formerly very prestigious career. That was uncomfortable. But the next case isn't just awkward, it's explosive. Andrea Tantaros. Andrea Tantaros' story is one of the most talked-about controversies in Fox News history, a mix of ambition, power, and alleged misconduct that exposed the darker side of network television. Once a rising star, Tantaros had quickly climbed the ranks, co-hosting 2 of Fox's biggest shows, The Five and Outnumbered. She was known for her sharp political commentary and confident on-screen presence, making her one of the network's most recognizable female voices. But behind the polished image, tensions were building. In April 2016, Fox abruptly pulled her off the air, citing contract issues. However, Tantaros later claimed that this was no coincidence. She alleged the move was retaliation for her complaints about indecent harassment by top executives. By the end of August, she had formally charged the network's chairman, Roger Ailes, and some others with inappropriate behavior, including advances and foul comments, by means of a lawsuit. Besides, she also accuses the likes of Bill O'Reilly, Dean Cain, and Scott Brown, among others, of being unprofessional. While her case was thrown out in 2018 as a result of inadequate evidence, Tantaros's accusations played a part in the media industry-wide moral cleansing. And that wraps up our list of 20 news anchors whose careers ended live on air. Which one shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. And check out the next video on your screen.